Today I'm having a conversation with Isabella Chow from UC Berkeley, who made headlines last year when she took a very unpopular stand because of her Christian faith. Can you start by briefly introducing yourself? Who are you, where are you from, and where did you grow up?
My name is Isabella Chow. I just graduated from UC Berkeley, where I was a student senator for a year. I grew up in San Jose, California, and I also lived in Gilroy, California before I moved to Berkeley. So I've been in the Bay Area of California my entire life.
You've taken some pretty brave and unpopular stands for your faith. I'd like to hear a little more about what's been formative or informative for your faith and how you came to faith.
Yeah, I actually have 3 older siblings who were adopted before I was born. And they came from Cambodia, so they're technically my cousins. Their parents passed away and my parents adopted them before I was born. They came as teenagers and they didn't know English when they didn't know, they barely knew English when they came. So eventually my parents realized that they had to homeschool my siblings just because, you can't go to high school if you don't really know how to speak English, right? And by the time I came along, I was kind of like thrown into the homeschooling system. I really am thankful for the way that homeschooling has prepared me, academically, intellectually, but mostly spiritually. I was given a chance to study the Bible, in addition to, history and science and, math and geography and everything. And I know that having that time and that space and that teaching, to understand my faith was really instrumental. But I think what was most important for me was that my parents encouraged us to not only know what we believe, but why we believe. And I know that, my parents wanted us to be intellectually honest with ourselves. And that meant, you better believe in God because you know He exists, not because we tell you to, right? And if you don't find evidence for God, then it's your duty to seek out that evidence or come to your own conclusions, right? And so I really valued that intellectual honesty that they gave us, and going to college, having the freedom to ask hard questions and not be afraid of asking hard questions really challenged me.
Obviously, you faced a lot of animosity on campus for your beliefs on biblical sexuality, and there's been plenty of discussion on that already. But I'd be interested in if you feel that there's other areas of life on campus or off that challenge your Christian values. And did you find it difficult being a Christian at UC Berkeley?
Well, I'll take the last question first. I didn't find it to be as hard being a Christian at Berkeley as I thought it would be. The reason for that is because there's actually a pretty sizable Christian community at Berkeley, and it's sizable and it's strong precisely because it is difficult to be a Christian at Berkeley, but not as difficult as a lot of people fear, right? At Berkeley, if you choose to be a Christian, if you choose to commit to a church and a fellowship, and you choose to openly profess to be a Christian, there really is no middle ground. There really is no room for lukewarmness. You are a Christian or you're not. And so because of that, I found a lot of support and a lot of friendships and pretty much like a home base and a community, a family, through the churches that I've been a part of at Berkeley. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I wasn't alone like I feared I would be. The 2 issues that I knew would, likely be a source of debate for myself as a Christian senator on a predominantly non-Christian Senate were the issues of abortion and the issues of sexuality. And so I think sexuality is a more nuanced topic simply because, you're talking about adults with free will, right? And so I don't think that, as a Christian senator, I would say, you are not allowed to sleep around, for example, because that's your choice, right? But I would say I am not going to support, certain lifestyles, and I'm not going to I cannot be forced to uphold, views that conflict with my religion, right? But in terms of abortion, it's a much different issue because here you have lives that are at stake and lives that are completely vulnerable, lives that have no voice, right? And so I think that's a much firmer line for me to draw, right? Where where, you know, it's not even about an adult choice. It's about a life that is being disregarded and being thrown away and being taken away. In terms of like other areas, I think it was mostly social pressure. So, you know, like the pressure to, you know, drink obsessively or, you know, smoke. It's, yeah, like the pressure to drink, the pressure to smoke, the pressure to sleep around, the pressure to, you know, dress very provocatively or to, you know, use cuss words in every sentence. You know, like these are the pressures that, you know, all college students face, but especially at a campus like Berkeley, it's the norm and it's expected, and when you don't conform to these norms, you're viewed as different, right? So at that point is, again, knowing what you believe and why you believe, and being able to communicate that to people in a gentle manner.
What do you think is most important for young Christians our age to know?
I think, you know, there are two things I would say, you know, like what I just said, you know, not being afraid to ask questions. And because if you don't ask the questions when you have resources available, whether that's, you know, your pastor, your Christian roommate, or your parents, right? If you don't ask these questions to them, then you are going to end up asking questions to your atheist professors, you know, to your, you know, your friends who have come from different backgrounds and different religions, right? And if you're not careful, you can end up hearing only one side. You know, especially at, you know, very liberal universities where there's pretty much only one side heard, right? So don't be afraid to ask questions when, you know, you have the resources available, whether that's, you know, before college, during college, after college. But most importantly, you know, stay grounded in the Word of God and know personally why you believe in the Word of God as the truth, you know, whether that's an intellectual defense for the authenticity of the Bible, or you know, a personal relationship with God and a personal experience of who He is, you know. Yeah, and find community. Community is important. Yeah, if I didn't have, you know, the Christians who surrounded me and prayed for me during last semester, like I wouldn't have made it out alive. It wasn't just my fight, it was our fight. And because of that, you know, there's so much more strength in everything.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
I've had a really good time here. People are so hospitable. It's amazing.
All the best for the future. Thank you.